Are you finally starting to take your music production and your songwriting seriously? Do you think that you have what it takes to make a living in the music industry? Well, this marketing podcast is there to help music producers and artists to begin building a foundation to grow their music company from the bedroom to the boardroom. And now, here's your host, Brennan Lunan. What's going on, guys? Brennan Lunan here, your host of Music Marketing Podcast. This is episode 5. Today, we got a very special guest in studio. He hails from Tampa, Florida. Very well-known individual, very, well-respected and well-hated, too, I assume. Goes by the name of Relic Beats, better known as Alex Keller. To the industry world, I'd like to welcome him to the studio and want to get some background on you, kind of tell us what you're about, what you do.
Hey everybody. First of all, thanks for having me. Um, Ever since I was a kid, I really just liked selling stuff, right? Like in 5th grade, my first business with quotation marks around it was I would trick my mom into buying more Slim Jims for snack time, and then I would sell those Slim Jims to my classmates. And then my teacher caught on to it like after like a few weeks of me just doing it chill, and ratted me out to my mom, and my mom didn't see any problem with it. She was like, is he making money? Like, and she was cool with it, right? But that was my first business loss ever. um and then ever since then I've just been enjoying like selling stuff, right? I did door to door for a little bit. I really didn't like the structure of that, right? How you kind of knock on someone's door, ruin their day, and they're not really showing any interest in what you're selling, right? You have to like convince them and do like a bunch of borderline shady, pushy sales techniques to like get them to sign on the dotted line. And I just didn't like any of that. So skip forward a few years. Um, During that time period, I was just like making beats and whatever, and just like learning the craft and getting it together. And then I realized I needed to learn marketing, right? And so I just put my head down, learned marketing, started selling my beats and shit. And then a few people approached me, like artist producer wise, and they were like, "Hey, you're good at growing your social media, right? Can you grow mine?" And so I said, "Sure," right? And I had no idea what to charge for something like that. So I was like, just give me like 200 a month, you know what I'm saying? And I'll grow your Twitter for you. Nowadays, people ask me to do their Instagram, but it that's just how it started, right? And then I kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it, and then finally I did it for this one artist who had an investor, right? And I didn't know anything about this guy, up up front, right? And so he called me and was like, "Hey, you've been doing really good work for my artist. I run an actual like business. Would you be interested in doing it for his business?" He runs a dental chain, right? They do like $5 million a year. When I jumped on, we were doing 2 million a year, and we're now at five.
Now, do you think it's, your demeanor, or just the way you carry yourself that gets these clientele to come over and hire you and, pay you to do your work? Or, what is it exactly that, you think that brings these people around?
I think it's maybe in a little the way I carry myself, right? Like for anybody who actually knows me, I have no interest in bullshitting anybody really. And so I think he appreciated that and saw just like someone who, if he brought in and wanted to like hire as a consultant for marketing on his business, he knows that I will always keep it 100 with him. There's plenty of times when me and him are in meetings and he'll like say like, "Hey, I want to do this," and I'll say, "In my expert opinion, like because he pays me for it, I don't think that's a good idea." And if he still wants to do it, right, it's his business. We'll go ahead and do it. But I always make sure that like he knows how I feel about it, where I stand. Because if it doesn't work, right, and I was the one that encouraged it, right, then it makes me look bad.
Now, as far as changing your tone and talking to people differently, and I learned in sales that you're supposed to really kind of adjust to the customer, make sure that you're talking to them in their voice so they understand that you're connecting with them, and there's that sense of hey, that makes them kind of push you apart, push you aside. Do you find it that you switch kind of gears depending on who you're talking to, or do you just kind of do the same thing with everyone and it is what it is?
I talk to everybody this way, like literally, like I talk to my own grandma this way. My grandma is the sweetest lady in the world, but no, but if I think my grandma's doing something that I think is like
Yeah, like
bullshit, I'll
chill,
tell her, like, Grandma.
chill, grandma.
And what's crazy is people have a misconception in business, right? Especially in the what we do with consulting and marketing and everything. And everybody feels like they have to be super polite, but it's not necessarily taking all the clients and finding as many clients as you can. It's about finding the right clients for you. Um, and what I mean by that is, like, you would be surprised how a client like the ones I have, they pay me way more than truthfully I probably like deserve, right? Like,
Yeah, but I mean, you get paid what you're worth, and your worth is really determined by you, what your time is worth, what you're willing to take per hour. But at the same time, too, I mean, there's an industry standard as well. And that same industry will dictate whether or not you're worth that, meaning you're either going to get it or you're not.
oh yeah, the clients I've learned that like pay the most bother you the least, right? Like when my clients call me and they need something, they apologize for calling me and say, "Hey, like I'm sorry for calling you. I know you're busy, but like can we do this?" You know what I'm saying? Versus the clients who maybe don't pay that much, just because they purely don't have like the funds to pay that much, right? They don't run like $1 million businesses. Um, they always nickel and dime you for everything, right? And they want way more bang for their buck.
I don't know, man. That's a bold statement.
But no, bro. But that's not a bold statement, and I'm super fascinated by this because, and this is just like advice for people who do what we do. You know what I'm saying? For anybody who is selling their knowledge, expertise, or strategy, or whatever, whether you're making websites, whether it anything, right? Always try to just like avoid the clients looking for bargains. The second a client is, I even get a whiff of like the bargain sniffing, like I just kind of walk away from it. You know what I'm saying? Because not all money is good money. It's like it's a headache. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to wake up and have a headache every day. I like to enjoy my days. You know what I'm saying? You spent like a week with me. I like to enjoy my day. Do I not?
Oh yeah,
Like,
totally, man. Yeah, yeah.
so
Certain clients, man, it's just certain clients. They appreciate the work that you do, and they know the value of money, so they don't waste your time, and they don't like to really overload you with dumb shit.
it's just the mentality behind them.
Yeah,
Like,
totally, man, totally.
I mean, like with my dental client, bro. Like right now, we're spending 50 grand a month on advertising, and so it's just a different level, right? I will tell you that when I was doing it for artists and producers, I was definitely breaking my back a lot more. There are people who charge $100 for what we do a month, and it's just like, okay, so you got to go find 10 clients now to even make $1,000 a month, right? And I feel bad for businesses, truthfully, who hire a social media person because they don't know either. They don't know what a good social media person is, because otherwise they would do it themselves, right? If they knew. So it's one of those things. But like, first of all, this will get good, and then second of all, I'm a huge fan of just asking for way more than I ever think I could get. Right? Like when I got my dental client, like he asked what I wanted, and I threw out double of what I actually had in my head, just so it like gave some wiggle room, right? Some negotiation room. I'm always a fan of just like asking for more every single time. Like you never know.
Yeah, and I don't really ever want to be the most affordable person on the block. I always use the example of be a Ferrari versus, be a Toyota or be a Ford. You know what I mean? It's like you want to have your brand kind of elevate you to a level you could charge more and at the same time have, the necessary resources to do what you do well because you need the resources to do what you're doing. Can't just do it, and you don't want to position yourself as the most affordable person on the block. You don't want to be that guy.
Well, I'm super fascinated by this analogy because it's like as old as time, right? Like everybody always says this, like be the Ferrari or the Bentley, not the Toyota. Most people like they hear that and they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to be the Bentley." But they have no actual understanding of what makes Bentley Bentley versus what makes Toyota Toyota, and that's in like the branding that Bentley does.
It's funny, I always laugh at the people that always claim to be the best at something. Like there's a small world, and you're only the one service provider in it that does this particular thing, and they're the best. I'm the best rapper, I'm the best producer, and I'm the best whatever. And it's just a whole lot of faking it till you make it. And I think from that standpoint, where if you're starting out and you have to kind of pretend that you could take on any job and do any task, you could do that, you could pull that off, but eventually you kind of have to learn the trade and the craft, and you have to make sure that you're actually executing what you're saying and what you're charging for, because people will see that and eventually they'll just they'll cut ties with you.
I mean, you can quote unquote, I guess, fake it to make it a little bit, right? Like I don't. Everybody says that, oh, fake it till you make it, and it's not even faking. It's just like preparing yourself for the success, right? It's the ramp up, right? Like it's reading books, like listening to podcasts, getting your mindset right, like all of that. Every day I spend 2 hours in the morning. I don't look at social media. I don't look at email. I don't do anything. I just am in my own head. I might listen to some music. I might listen to a podcast or something. Like I just do not like the morning time is like my sacred, just like solitude, like whatever Superman had, this fortress of solitude or whatever.
So tell people what your day kind of looks like. Tell people what you do throughout the day, because I don't know if people know.
In a nutshell, so I'll give the nutshell version and then I'll break apart that nutshell a little bit. In a nutshell, what I do as a consultant is I give creative business solutions to increase sales, right? And what I mean by that is me and a client will get together. I'll sit down and have a nice, lovely conversation with them, figure out what their goals are, right? Like what they even count as a win or a KPI, right? For my dental client, it's phone calls.
Now define KPI for our listeners. Let them know what it stands for and exactly what it is.
KPI stands for key performance indicator, and it's just a fancy marketing term for what's your goal. It's a measuring device. Are you measuring email signups? Are you measuring sales on if you run an auto shop? Are you like a carb cleaner? Like what are you measuring, right? That's what a KPI is. And so I'll sit down with the client, figure out what their KPI is, kind of get a good feel for who they are, who their brand is, what they're trying to communicate to the world. Because my job as a consultant is to take their business and just add some like sizzle and some magic to it that just kind of puts it on that next level that they couldn't get there by themselves because they're just, and it's not even because I'm smarter or anything like that. It's
Yeah, you have experience in the field. I mean, you could give experience perspective.
Yeah, an experienced third person perspective, but it's still just that's really what I get paid to do is just give perspective because clients, especially ones who are running multi-million dollar businesses, they're so heads down in the business that they forget to look up.
Right. A lot of small business owners don't have time to do marketing. They don't have time to do advertising, and they don't know how to because it's not easy. Because you have to go to school, you have to read books, you have to be around people who do it, you have to learn, you have to get experience. And if you can't, you really can't just out of the box put something together, throw it out there, and expect results because that's not how it works. Especially that there's so much competition out there who's really going out there and doing it the right way. So you kind of have to understand that it's not, it's not easy to do marketing and to do advertising.
Yeah, well, that's why they hire someone like me or you.
And it's not just about ideas. You know what I mean?
Yes, and it's more than just ideas. Like, okay, so like when I talk to somebody, especially someone new in the marketing field, they're always like super excited. Like I remember when I first started getting into marketing, it was again like my eyes were just wide, and it was just like it was such a interesting world. Um, and there's so many different variations and techniques in marketing, like search engine marketing or search engine optimization, or just, you know what I'm saying? There's so many different facets within marketing that it gets really confusing. Um, but one thing that I do, and again, back to the whole idea thing, it's like everybody can be like, cool, it's nice you're giving an idea, but what are the steps behind that idea? Like, that's the difference between the idea and what I'm actually doing, right? I might give them the idea, but I can also do any steps that need to be there up until the completion of the goal, because what we sell as consultants is like results, not time, right? And so it's not really an idea that I'm selling, it's results. The idea helps me get the results, but you got to know the steps as well.
And everybody that knows this stuff will tell you, man, like the ideas are just, I mean, they're useless if there's no execution. And the execution's in the process. And if you don't have a process, what do you have? How do you actually proceed?
Sometimes it's super like ninja-y too, sometimes you might like run a Facebook campaign and just start off as a pure reach campaign with really broad targeting. And then you might take everybody that interacted with that ad, create a custom audience, and then create a slightly narrowed down version of that ad, and then focus on engagement.
Yeah, create a sales funnel.
Yeah, it's a funnel, a filter, whatever you want to call it. 99% of social media people don't even know like how to do that or what that is, or they know the word Facebook pixel, but they couldn't describe what it does.
It's funny that a lot of people kind of take the stuff with a grain of salt and they don't think much of it. And that's why you see so many people are spamming your account with music, in our music world, especially like improper targeting of people. And then you're just, you got to remember the competition's stiff.
You're competing with Netflix and Hulu,
Right,
bro.
right, exactly. So, I mean, I'm trying to sit down and relax, watch TV. My phone's buzzing because, you're sending me a beat and, I'm a producer. And I got to be honest, I don't listen to beats that I just get sent. I just, out of principle, and I'm sorry to be an asshole, but I just don't listen.
I'll listen to the first 10 seconds and then make a preconceived judgment off of that. If it's trash in the first 10 seconds, I'll eliminate you out of my mind forever.
And it's not just you because you're a producer. This is just the general public. We give people at most 5 seconds of our time until they catch our attention. So if you don't catch our attention in the first five, you're done. So it's like, you have to learn marketing. You have to start somewhere.
It's just one of those things where if you're not good at marketing, but you see yourself doing it, find someone like Brendan, or find someone like, well, don't come to me because I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. So send them all to me. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate that.
But but like find someone who can is good at marketing, who does it for a living, has actual clients, not artists, not producers, like clients, like what me and Brendan do, like real people. You know what I'm saying? Not businesses. Not that artists and producers aren't real people. We are, but like
But just, we're talking about big businesses and companies that actually have a profit and loss statement and they could tell you how much money they spend on advertising and such. And it's just one of those things, you kind of want to make sure that you're dealing with the real businesses.
what's interesting is I was thinking about this the other day. Like marketers, there's been like an influx of marketers. Um, because of like almost the hype around it, right? Like you look at someone like, bro, even Ty Lopez. Ty Lopez has like that course, right? The Start Your Own Social Media Marketing Agency, and he's been on this kick for like 2 years. He started in like 2016 and telling people to become like social media consultants, and like so that's pushing it, right? And then you have someone like Gary V, who is just like just the epitome of like what good social media is. You know what I'm saying? Just like, and he brought because he does it for like the biggest companies in the world with his business, and so and he's like he almost is like a modern day like rock star nowadays, and so like everybody just wants to be a rock star, bro. It's like it's so real. It's like everybody wants to be a rapper. Everybody in the '80s, everybody wanted to play guitar and be in a metal band.
And you know, it's funny. As much as I love Gary Vee and as much as I love what he stands for, I've stopped giving Gary Vee my time. And that's because I realized something that a lot of people probably haven't yet, or maybe just never will, is that every time that you give Gary Vee a minute of your time, he wins.
I was gonna say you're about to get so much hate on this podcast if you're gonna.
Nah. I mean, there's no hate towards Gary Vee. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just saying that you only have 24 hours in one day, right? And so if you give Gary Vee an hour of your time to watch his keynote and you want to feel motivated and you want to feel energized and you want to kind of get ideas and such and whatever, you got to realize that you're giving Gary your time and he takes your time and he shows Coke that he's able to get your attention. That means that he could put them in front of me and
Yeah, I
you know what I'm saying?
I do agree.
So it's like you're giving him the ammunition he needs to go do his business, and what you get out of it is really fluff. And not to say Gary doesn't give you good ideas or good motivation, but it's not going to make you money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his personal brand is his proof to Coca-Cola that hey, I can do this.
Exactly. And while you're sitting here and listening to him sell you,
Yeah.
his BS or whatever whatever he's selling you, you're not doing anything with
No,
your time.
and let me say something too. Is like I do love Gary. I think like he's inspirational, and I think he helps a lot of people get through a lot of tough shit in their life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. And being that Gary Vee is from my country, he's where from I'm from.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Belarus. Um, but I do think there are abundant amount of people going around who listen to Gary Vee who start thinking that they have the same like skill set that just because like and yeah like listen to his keynotes, listen to his content. He has good stuff, right? But like you know where you really learn marketing when you start spending your own money in advertising and like you start learning where every single nickel and dime goes. Like that's
Don't make me pull out my Facebook receipts, man. It's just some losses are depressing.
oh my god, bro! Like that's where like that's the trenches of marketing. There, you go listen to all the Gary Vee you want to and feel good about it, right? But like, just know that like any real marketer out there can sniff your bullshit a mile away.
Yeah, man, a lot of people just don't really buy that stuff, man. It's just you kind of kind of have to know what you're doing and kind of eventually have to prove yourself. So, on that note, I'm going to close it out. This is Brendan Lunan at Music Marketing Podcast. My guest tonight is Alex Keller, Relic Beats. Relic, you want to tell them how to get a hold of you?
You guys can follow me on. I just made a new social media for exclusively for just like my marketing content. Um, just gonna separate it, and it's at the number one Alex Keller, AlexKeller.
Tell them what you're selling, man. I know you got something to sell, I'm sure, right?
No, I'm not selling anybody's shit. No, I'm not selling nothing
Why?
because most of you don't have 10,000 a month to spend on advertising, and so unless you have 10 grand a month that you're already spending on advertising, I don't have anything for you.
That's bougie, but we appreciate that. So you could always find me at EQ Productions. That's ECUE Productions with S on the end. And that's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you have any questions about, music marketing or marketing your company, I could help you with Facebook ads, Google ads, as well as Instagram. Hit me up. Again, that's ECUE Productions with S on the end. Have a good week. We'll talk to you soon.